So
So I was saying it's
beautiful.
a pleasure to
Yeah.
meet you.
The
It's a pleasure
same,
to
the
meet you.
same. I'm really, really very pleased to get
Yes.
to know you. And plus because it is a dear friend, no, that referenced
That's right.
us.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
Michael Poderamo, and
Mhm.
it's a beautiful. I love him, and he's so kind and so open-hearted that
Yes.
yeah, I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
co-creating with you.
Great. So tell me and how do we co-create?
Co-creation is just having a conversation. It's
Okay.
flowing. It's like now today is the first time we're meeting, so there's a lot
Yes.
to say, a lot to share. No? So
Okay.
I would love well, to know a little bit about you, what you do, and also how you met Michael, so that everything relates, no? And from there, we have just a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, I think Michael, I met him through either LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
or Facebook, one of those social media, and we sort of click and we had conversations, and we found a lot in common, and we sort of committed to continue our friendship and see what we could do together to again co-create, some meaningful solutions. In terms of myself, I'm Luis Marrero,
Mm-hmm.
native of Puerto Rico,
In Puerto Rico. I lived
but I
in Puerto
spent.
Rico.
You from Puerto Rico?
No,
You've
no,
been
I
there?
lived there. I lived
Oh,
there.
you lived there.
Yeah,
Oh,
8 months, 9 months
oh, okay. So
project.
I was
Yeah.
born and raised there, and I
Mm.
studied in Siena Heights University in Adrian, Michigan, and Triton University in Indiana. Returned to Puerto Rico and started working in human resource management, and did my graduate work in human resource management and psychology, which I did my thesis on. I left. I worked for Fortune 500 companies,
Mm-hmm.
including the Walt Disney Company, which was a great, work experience. And back in 2013, I wrote my first book,
Mm.
Meaningful Purpose Psychology. And last year, I published my second book with co-author Daniel Pursuti. And I'm working on my third book now,
Oh, wow.
which I plan to publish next year. So I write books, I write
Mm-hmm.
blogs, I teach therapists, coaches, consultants, counselors, leaders, and other people in the helping professions on how to use meaningful purpose methodology, uh, of which I'm a pioneer,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can apply it in their respective practices, either as a leader or as a therapist or as a coach, so forth and so on.
Mm.
So that's, short, I'll be very short. That's pretty much my bio. There's more
Nice.
to it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And
that's
that,
enough.
yeah, yeah, but I love to know a lot of the person behind
Yeah,
the project or the books
sure.
or no, because I believe true leadership comes from the heart, no, from the heart to the
Yeah,
world, and it's when
yeah,
we live from the inside out, no, when we
correct.
really are listening to ourselves and be the leader for ourselves and be the example we want to see in the world. So that's
That's
when we
right.
create, no, and we
Right.
always create through experiences we had to empower, inspire, and nurture others, and at the same way they nurture us, no, as we
Correct.
give. So I imagine that you came to create what you have created, I mean, for a purpose, because of an experience or because, well, it came through you. No, you create a methodology, no,
Yeah.
a method, and
Yes.
you have well, yeah, you have packaged it, and now you're showing. But it comes from somewhere. It comes from your experience, you know.
Yes, it does. And the experience was, Jeannette, a few years back, I was going through a very difficult stage in my life. It
Mm-hmm.
was a challenging situation. And I was living in Orlando at the time. I'm talking from Westfield, Massachusetts at this time. So I went to Barnes and Noble's bookstore,
Yeah.
and I went to the leadership and psychology section to see if I could find something that would help me with my situation. And I found a book by Viktor Frankl. You're probably
Mm-hmm.
familiar with Viktor Frankl,
Mm-hmm.
the father of logotherapy. And I found the book, Man's Search for Meaning, which, by the way, I had at home because I had read it many, many years ago. But I still picked it up. And if I recall well, on page 7, Frankl set words to the sort of you just pay attention to what life is asking of you and then respond to it. So I read the quote. It just happened, it just captured my attention as I was reading the whole page. And then I lift my eyes and I look and I see all these books in these shelves. I look up and I see tons and thousands of books everywhere in this humongous Barnes and Noble bookstore. So I had this, it wasn't like an irony, but at the same time, besides being ironic, it was a paradox.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking, why is it that I'm having this difficulty and there's so many solutions surrounding me? So the thesis of my work is to answer and help people understand why the paradox and how to overcome the paradox, which is that humanity does not suffer from a lack of answers. It suffers despite the fact that the answers do exist. So our what brought meaningful purpose psychology or logoteleology to life is this paradox, which intrigued me back then. And that's what led me to write my first book is what is it that I can find to understand this phenomenon and how to best address it. And because I had studied therapy, but I'll be frank with you, I was much more of a fan of Alfred Adler, individual psychology, because he actually started the meaningful story. Frankl picked it up and took it to a next level. But I use both. But I must confess I'm much more Adlerian than Frankl follower. But I do follow Frankl. Don't get me wrong. So that led then to the study of what is the role of meaning and how can I leverage meanings to understand why the paradox and what answers would it give me. So that's what started the science. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
I love that because usually we have that. No, we always have an experience from which
We do.
something is born, and from there we just start creating and get nurtured, no, to create and to give it out.
That's right.
I love it. I love to see now from your story that you are actually working on that. So you
Yeah.
are
Oh yeah.
your legacy, no,
Yes.
you're following what you, and that moment
Mhm.
changed you.
That's correct. And the whole premise of the first book was to, and I told the readers right from the beginning, I have all these chapters, and at the end of each chapter, I'm going to tell you how am I using this information
Mm.
for my developmental needs.
Mm-hmm.
So the book was written as an exploration where I am the guinea pig,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also the observer
Mm-hmm.
of the experiment, of the things that I'm learning and testing to see whether this works or not. So I take people through, this is what I discovered. Here's the primary concepts of the theory. And as I learn things, I started to apply them to myself. And then I would say, and this is how has that impacted me. Now let's move on to the next chapter and the next topic. So that was pretty much the story. And it's thematic and also in how I teach people the methodology. And what makes this very different from other schools of psychology is that to become a teleology practitioner, you start by working on yourself. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about methods and techniques. I mean, you can use these methods and techniques to help other people. Don't get me wrong. But the core of the work isn't having that future practitioner do self work,
Mm-hmm.
go through the experience of the work. And it's like, if I can use a biblical reference, it's like taking the log off your eye so you can see much more clearly and help other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the emphasis. It's let's do the self-analysis work. Let's understand ourselves better. Let's see how this applies to us. Let's deal with the challenges and difficulties that this comes up with, that sort of prevents us from moving forward. Let's study that. Let's explore that. because our clients, people will be helping in the future, will go through the same process. So you'll be in a better position to understand through your own struggles, in
Mm-hmm.
growing up and becoming more lucid,
Yeah.
más claro,
Yes.
in terms of what is really happening inside of me and what's happening external to me, because I can see much more clearly now, I can help.
Yes.
But it
Yes.
starts with that, with
Yes.
self-work. Yeah,
Yes. I love that because I always say for us to grow, it is for us to explore, experience, and practice and
correct,
practice, no? And
correct,
through the
correct.
practicing, you experience it. So it's this cycle.
That's right,
And we take in what serves us.
right.
There might be many steps. You can follow them, but you take in as you experience and as you are your observer, you take in what really serves you the way it serves you. Not necessarily all the steps, maybe some and in different order, who knows? But you take in also when you read a book, you take in what serves you. It doesn't mean that you have to follow blindly every step, because then again you're not listening to yourself, you're just following someone's other steps,
That
and
is
it
correct.
might not work because you are not integrating them, because you are unique, so it's your unique way to integrate them through experience.
That's correct. And, very much amen to what you're saying is the fact that this inner work is to help you become much more self-determined.
Mhm.
And I tell my students, don't believe anything I say.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you empirical research and don't take it for granted. Study it.
Mhm.
Because the whole idea is for you, each individual is unique. Nobody is the same as anyone else. That's what makes life so beautiful,
Yes,
that
yes, I love
each human being is unique and special and has something to contribute to life.
it. Mhm.
And the work is to discover that uniqueness. Who am I? Why was I born? What is the mission of my life? And to help that individual claim that mission of life through self-understanding and not following blindly stuff that we inherited from other people or from society, which many times what I've discovered in my studies that people have not vetted the quality of that information or the
Mhm.
stuff that we inherited, which explains why the state of the world. Um, and as you're vetting what you inherited was given to you from birth onward, you can start saying, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And what local teleology does, it gives you the tools to sort out what makes sense and doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. So what is the standard for something to make sense and not sense, or does not make sense? Is there a scientific way, a rational way, a reasonable way where we can test our assumptions, our belief systems, our values? And again, what is the standard to say that this is right and that is wrong?
Mhm.
So that's part of the discovery process, is to help people discover what those standards are, that they're reliable, that they can depend on them. And then based on that, they can start vetting their belief systems and their attributions, so far and so on, to reach that point where they know how to find truth,
Mhm.
unbiased truth, and then to make the choice and decision as they're discovering things to say, which path am I going to follow now that I know this?
Mhm.
And that's what local teleology does for people.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the experiences, it's the integration for then also to be able to teach, because you have integrated it, like you said before, and then you are able to explain because of experience. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it's not just helping people do things.
Mm-mm.
The bulk of our work is in being, not
Yeah,
doing.
yes, yes, yes. I love that.
When you
Very
fix the
important.
BE, yeah, when you fix the BE, in soy, the
Mm-hmm.
BE,
Mm-hmm.
by default, the right to do will follow.
Yes.
The problem that we have today is because we have not vetted like I said, our value systems, our belief systems, our attributions, so far and so on. We have not vetted that. So we're out doing stuff that have a meaning to why we're doing it, but it's a meaning we have not vetted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have not proven whether this is good for me to follow or not to
Mm-hmm.
follow. And again, I go
Mm-hmm.
back to The reason, going back to the paradox, the reason why humanity suffers is because it's living under belief systems that they have not vetted,
Mm-hmm.
but they accept as truth.
Yes.
And then we have the conditions that we have today, some good, some bad.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm totally with you with that, because I want to explain to you why I say co-creation and not collaboration.
Sure. Okay.
Okay? Because co-creation comes from the being. It comes from me in wholeness, opening my heart, co-creating with you in wholeness, and sharing, giving, and receiving in harmony, and taking in or what it serves us for our uniqueness. No, this is
Yes. True.
co-creation. Collaboration comes from doing.
Yeah.
Collaboration has a goal set up front, which co-creation doesn't, because co-creation in the being, I'm in the now, I'm co-creating. I don't know what's the outcome. I just trust in the beautiful outcome that I would never have imagined, because I am being. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
exponential. The collaboration, the doing, it's with a goal set, and I have to be adjusting myself to be able to get to that goal. So
Right.
I'm limiting myself through my mind, because the goal, I said it's that goal, and I have to giving from me to be able to adjust and get there.
Yeah.
So and it comes from the doing. So that's why I always, for me, co-creation is part of the future. It's
Yes.
it's for humanity to be free to be who they are and create what they love.
Yeah.
So being love, being unique,
Yeah.
and co-creating, because as you are unique and you are whole, you are co-creating in anything you do.
Yes.
You have a conversation, you are co-creating, because you are wholeness, co-creating. You are going to buy something and you talk to someone, you are co-creating, because you are being. And you always are going to give something to another one or receiving, because you're open-hearted.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
and
very
that I like that.
compatible. Very compatible. Yeah. And that's why, that people ask me, what is this logoteleology thing? Where does it come from? Or logoteleología in Espanol. Logoteleology comes from three Greek words. Logo for meaning, okay, which is Franco defined it as what it's meant. I define it based on Franco as an aim backed by reasons, motive, or justifications or causes. Nothing can happen without a cause. So
Yeah.
meaning is where we originate the why, the cause. Nothing can happen. I'm a self-determinist. Nothing
Yeah.
can happen without a cause. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you can go to the because exercise and say, why did you drink water? Well, because I'm thirsty. And why did you go to church? Because I'm religious, or whatever that might be. There's always going to be a because everything
Yeah.
that happens. Why did a tree fell in the forest? Because it was weak, or whatever that might be, or somebody chopped it down. So it's a because. So what we do is help people understand their why, or why things happen, the because of a thing. So the first one is logo. What is meant. That is followed. The other component of logoteleology is telos, in Greek telos, which is will, voluntad, motivación,
Yeah.
will or
Willingness. Yeah.
motivation, and it's meaning that determine how motivated we're going to be to do in something. So it's what fuels the doing.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's a whole construct under all these models, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
And then logoteleology again, the third component of the word is telos, which is purpose, which is goal, which is end, finality of something. It's where the action happens. It's the field of competencies, skills, and abilities where we do stuff. So the meaning sets the agenda of what to do. Telos fuels or motivates, energizes purpose, telos, or action to make something happen.
Yes.
So based on empirical science, and humans are goal-oriented or teleological. And in my science, humans are goal-oriented by meanings, the be, the sense of that
Yes.
being. okay, that leads me to behave in a particular way.
Wow.
So that's the definition of flow teleology, or
Yeah.
the explanation of the three
Yes, yes,
components of the
yes, yes. I
science.
love
Yeah,
that. I love that because I
yeah,
feel that force.
yeah,
And I know what you mean with that. And
yeah,
it's uh, totally aligned, no, with who I am.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
totally aligned with who I am because I have this force, this willingness to take action based on my being,
That's correct.
and that creates this endless battery of energy.
Mhm. And using our common description, going back to that being, okay, which
Mm-hmm.
resides in the meaning component of the at least my theory.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime that I'm behaving, I'm really betraying or telling people this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
Yes.
expression of the self, of the being.
Yes.
And if you don't like some of those components, you have to change the be in order to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So again, change starts from within.
That's correct. That is correct. And that's why the self, the work starts with the self, with the being,
Yes, with the self.
and that the do will take care of itself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
But
I
tell me
love.
more about your work.
Well, I do many things, but um, lately, co-creating conversations that comes from the energy I have within of this
Mhm.
freedom to be who I am and create what I love.
Yeah.
Because I believe, again, what we said before, you have to experience this to really be in the heart and to really co-create.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, I felt the way to show people what it is to co-create is to have conversations,
Yeah.
no, and for them to explore, experience, and practice them. And
Mhm.
that's how then we can extend this power of being that we are. And for me, I have a movement that is called the Positive Impact Movement that I created some years ago, because I felt this power, this freedom that everyone has. No, I changed my life about 20 years ago. I've lived in New York before and worked for United Nations and after Puerto Rico,
Uh-huh.
and I decided to change my life because I didn't know myself, and I landed in Barcelona, in Spain.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's where I started knowing myself.
Mhm.
And I still work in IT, but I always in 2012 I started my projects. No, I started a social enterprise, and I saw that after years, I had a long time, I saw that I was not a social entrepreneur, because a social entrepreneur gives solutions to a problem. And for me, I was constantly evolving. So was my project. And for me, the most important thing behind the project is the person.
Sure,
And
sure.
then
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
enterprise, and they're looking at the project, but not the people.
Right.
And like me, I saw many suffering, believing we weren't doing it right because we had to change the business model every time. I did so many. And that's when I said, no, the thing is, I'm not a social entrepreneur. I'm something else. And nowadays I call it a true leader, no? A true leader, which is someone that leads for themselves. Not what I said before, someone that lives from the inside out, and that is empowering, inspiring others through the experiences I hold. No, and that's when I started the Positive Impact Movement. And it
Yeah.
has also evolved in all these years. I had a community, I closed it because a movement must be open, and a community, we learned a lot. It was with the COVID, so there were many
Ah,
conversations, no, heart-to-heart conversations. So there was a lot of exploration, experience, and practicing, a lot of co-creation, um, um, being surprised of what we were able to create without the goal, just with the being, no, in groups. It was a very nice, expansive experience. But I closed it because I'm not a community manager. And I said I have to open. And that's when I started with something called the Leadership Circle. And it's from where now I'm co-creating conversations like this.
You have a site in Facebook and LinkedIn, the Leadership Circle, by any chance?
I have in LinkedIn, it's my personal page because I said that since I am what I create,
Yeah.
I close the pages or I let them there, and I have my personal page which I use, and I have my web page that has JeannetteMeier.com, and from there I have leadershipcircle.earth or pimove.org, which are the Positive Impact Movement and the
That's
Leadership
super.
Circle. So
That's
I
super.
have a digest I write every 2 weeks, and it's the digest of the Leadership Circle. And I do this podcast, which is the Leadership Circle podcast. And
Great.
hopefully I'm just being, I'm in the now, I'm following my calling. I don't know where I'm going, but I love that because I love to learn every day and to get surprised every day with everything I co-create, no? And I guess life will show me where I'm going. I'm seeing in the last months lots of change and impact with this co-creations. But well, I'm here. I have a full-time job in IT. I lead a team, and I lead it with true leadership. I've done that for 7 years. My team, I've planted seeds. I guide them every 2 weeks. At least every one of them, I had 30 people, 40 people, and I guide them with who I am, and they've been growing, and the company has been growing with that, the projects. But well, now it's going down the level of projects, so I'm in the impasse, no? But but yes, I experienced, I practiced and this true leadership in IT also, and it works perfectly everywhere. No, at the end, anyone can be and can be a true leader, and if they are willing to be anywhere.
I'm intrigued when you say that the process pretty much discovering the being of the self, and I think we agreed that eventually we're going to do something with it. It has to lead to some sort of so what do I do with my new self sort of a thing, and what is going to be my contribution as a result of that? What positive difference am I going to make? And then you're saying that in your practice, and at least as an IT leader, that you're planting the seeds so that people can start discovering their own selves and their own voice and their own way to add value. And this might not fit, it doesn't my science, but just thinking about how you would answer this. What is the goal then of finding the self?
In IT for them?
No, yeah. Oh, that could be an example, sure. Yeah, but in your theory, your approach.
And for me, it's the goal really if you are your true leader, you find yourself, you are free, you are liberated, you are free to be who you are and create what you love. And from there, the uniqueness grows. And from there, your skills, your gifts grow, and you are sharing with the world. You are giving to the world who you are.
Okay.
So it's this uniqueness, no? And uniqueness in everything we do, our projects.
Yeah. And the benefit to the world is?
We're always positive, because if you are in freedom and if you are who you are, open-hearted, anything you create, anything will always be positive.
Okay. So then it will have a pro-social impact on the community that you're working with. Okay.
Yes, because
that's what
as you are, you love yourself, you respect yourself, you value yourself. And when you do that, you do the same with everyone else. So you love, you respect and value everyone else. You know that you are walking your shoes, that you don't know anything, and that they are walking their shoes, no? So there's a lot of respect. So there's a lot of, well, positive impact in the world, because we all understand that we are one in the same, and at the same time unique, no? Everyone has something to show to someone else. So I am my guru, and someone
Yeah,
else also the guru in a certain thing that I don't know. So we
sure.
just yes, relate, no? Exchange, learn
Okay.
from each other, no? I'm learning from myself, and learning from someone else.
Okay. That's fascinating. So you talk about positivity. Do you, for instance, study things that come out from the International Positive Psychology Association or the Humanistic Schools? So it's not related to any particular theory.
No, I studied, well, I'm a systems engineer.
Yes, yes,
And
yeah.
then, and now in 2018, I started studying, I studied metaphysical science.
Uh-huh.
I did the bachelor and the master, and then I did the philosophy. I am a doctor in philosophy in conscious centered living.
Okay.
But I created all this to organize a little bit
Yeah.
my vision, and then this what was all birthing since 2012.
Yes.
And I actually created a thesis that was called Living from the Inside Out, which I created a book out of it, and a dissertation. It's called the Leadership Booklet. So it's
Yeah.
socially conscious leadership, love, uniqueness, and co-creation.
Okay. And that's really helpful because um, as I was hearing you speaking, again, uh, forgive the scientific,
No,
side of
no,
me, the
no.
scientist side of me. What I was very intrigued is what kind of theories, for instance, would be behind, because like we probably both acknowledge we're a result of our studies, the influence of other people, even interacting with other individuals. We sort of learn from one another.
Mhm,
It's called iron sharpens iron. We help one another, from that perspective, which is very beautiful. But I was just intrigued to see what was your background that led you to sort of conceptualize this. And when I hear you say, which is common of both your approach and my approach, I like the word love.
mhm,
Okay. So that's a standard. When you're talking about, loving yourself and finding yourself and your core being, and then gifting that to the world, also your talents, your co-creation, type process. There has to be for me, in my theory, some standard that says, you know, what is the path to follow? Oh, and how do I know that I'm on the right path or the wrong path? And again,
mhm.
again, I'm sorry, but it has to do with that goal setting, and
Yeah.
that's the tellus part of my theory. But it's done, with a meaningful intent, and the meaningful intent. One of the components in one of my models, um, and let me just briefly explain it. I interview over 1,000 executives from around the world. I used to do a lot of psychological assessments, and then one of the questions I would ask them is, what motivates you? What's
Mhm,
what do you want out of life? Type of question. And then I did a lot of study around the psychology of love, the psychology of peace, positive psychology, wellness, happiness, that sort of a thing. And then everything came together in a model of what is it that humans hunger for out of life. I'm not talking from the perspective of a Herzberg or other models that talked about some of the things that motivate people. This is what is it we yearn for? And five things came up.
mhm,
The first one was, when you look at all together and decipher the data, is love, pro-social. So in order for when I teach, what gives meaning to life, okay, and
mhm.
Viktor Frankl also concluded the same thing, and many others have concluded the same thing. It always ended up with love as a standard. So when you're talking about self-love, it's about, hey, be compassionate with yourself, be patient with yourself, accept your weaknesses, accept that we all make mistakes,
Yeah.
forgive yourself so that you can build on the good side of you, and you take energy away from perhaps your negative tendencies because you wouldn't have this positive impact. So I found that love was foundational, but at the same time, it's the standard that, that pretty much tells people, part of your meaning should be a loving person towards self
Yeah.
and other people. The second component or result that I found from the study, and this I call the five meaningful life strivings, what people lo que las personas añoran, what
Mm-hmm.
people, yearn for,
Yeah.
is love. The second one was peace and peace of
Mm-hmm.
mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is prosocial. The second one is psychological safety and physical safety. That's what peace pretty much brings.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found through my studies is that you cannot have peace without love
Yeah.
first. You have to fulfill the requirement of love in order to have true peace. Like for instance, peace of freedom of, that your conscience is not, killing you. You have peace of mind because you're centered with yourself. You have forgiven yourself, and you're committed to doing something good with your life. So, in order to have peace, it's preceded. You have to first satisfy. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the love standard. The third thriving that came up out of study is happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And happiness has to do with, I don't mean like always laughing, but it's just a state of content.
Yeah.
And there's ups and downs. And just say, pretty much we go through those ways that some days we're just okay, neutral. Some days we're content. Some days we're very, very happy. Other days we're a little bit down. But we're within a range, operating within a range of contentment that, makes life, good to live
Mm-hmm.
because I'm enjoying life, that sort of a thing. And what I found in my studies is you cannot have contentment without peace.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
one follows the other. So
Yeah.
there's a very deliberate process that needs to be followed in order to reach the states. The next one, which is related to the, among other things, your work thing situation I'm sorry, excuse me, um, is engagement or interest.
Mm-hmm.
That people want to do
Okay.
interesting things with interesting people at interesting places for noble ends. That there's a meaning behind what I'm doing, but I want to be surrounded by fun people, good people, intelligent people in a good work setting or, good place and do great things. And it's not always work. I took my family to Europe not too long ago, and we went to Switzerland, and it was fascinating just to be in Schaffhausen in Switzerland, just seeing where the Nile started. It just not the island, sorry,
The
oh, okay,
Rhine.
the Rhine started, let's say. So it's just just having those type of experiences where you go to different places and you're with a nice group of people, you're having a good time, and you see all these wonderful things happening. So so it has to do with work, but it also has to touches other areas of your life.
Yeah.
That you're perhaps if you're married with your spouse or your partner, you're doing fascinating things. Okay. And what I found through the studies that people want this interesting side of their life, they're engaged, this engagement type of life. But in order to reach that, you have to satisfy the state of happiness,
Mm-hmm.
contentment, in order
Mm-hmm.
to be able to enjoy it. Okay. But I also found there's another loop to it that when you satisfy that state of contentment and you're doing interesting things with interesting people at interesting places for noble ends, it also contributes to happiness. So this one has a loop
Mm,
between
indeed.
happiness and engagement or interest, and then it feeds into happiness. And then the final one was prosperity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And prosperity, not just financial,
Mm-hmm.
but intellectual, experiential, financial, um, is what makes this sense of legacy that you're accomplishing something, useful, beneficial for
Yes.
yourself and for other people. You can look back and say, it was a good life. I
Mm-hmm.
lived a good life. I'm living a good life. I can, I can tell that I'm having this great experiences. So those are the five yearnings. And in the study, which I published papers on this, I also discovered, and we call this, by the way, also the meaningful path. And that's the title of my first book, The
Mm-hmm.
Meaningful Path, Psychological Foundations of Logoteleology. And it's telling people this is what I discovered through my studies. It all starts with love, and then it goes to peace and happiness, interest or engagement, and prosperity. The meaningless path is when you start from prosperity,
Ah.
trying to buy with money and other means your love, your peace,
Mm-hmm.
your happiness. It doesn't work. That is called the meaningless path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I teach my students, and I tell them, don't believe me, I can share the information with you, read it, try it, test it. But, let's look at life's example in terms of people following the meaningful path and the meaningless path, and then you choose. All I'm going to tell you is what I discover. I'm going to give you a methodology. I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's your choice, but try it out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you follow the meaningful path, it's going back to your point in terms of being.
Yeah.
You have this standard and it's vetted information because you validated that this really works.
Mm-hmm.
This really works. So then putting the person in the position that now you have a choice of which path to follow. And then becoming yourself to self-determine, you need to have some standards to help you self-regulate.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you cannot self-regulate with self-regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And the first regulation is love your neighbor, love yourself, love your neighbor. And if you're a religious person, love your God. Okay. And that then will give you true peace or create conditions for peace and happiness and so on and so on. So that's why I was sort of intrigued about, your standards or how you thought about it, how, the theory behind it. But that's mine.
It comes through experience and observation, lots of observation. I constantly observe myself. The meaningful path for me is this inside out living.
Yep.
And then the unmeaningful one is the external, the outside in living.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is common between you and me.
Yes.
It starts from within. Yeah. It starts from within. Yes.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate. I really love to hear everything you've been explaining because it so touches me. It's so with me, and it's so aligned to me.
It is.
And I many times I say, okay, I don't have a method. I don't have steps. I live it, and that's why the experiences are so important. I live it, and I am it.
Yes.
So yes. I'm always so happy to get nurtured by this kind of information that somehow shows who I am and what I am. Yes, I am that, and I'm living it, and I believe that anyone can do it and come to be through methods and that help them, because it's really so liberating, so free, so peaceful, so happy. Everything is so beautiful every day. We have challenges, but you live them in a different way.
Yeah.
In expansion, always.
Right.
Thank you so much, Luis.
Sure, pleasure. Any
Co-creating
other questions or?
Well, I think for today it's okay.
Super. Okay,
because
great.
We will be talking other times. We will co-creating other times. I'm sure about that.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, and it was, for me, was a beautiful co-creation because I've seen your power of beings. I've seen your essence, and that's what I love to show to everyone else. And plus, you talk about your books and from where they come and for what they are. And it's I think it's for everyone to go and search for them and read them, because it will be for sure helping them out in living from the inside out.
Yeah, and congratulations on your journey.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's very courageous for people to do that. It takes courage.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. So congratulations and
Thank
keep
you
it up.
So much.
That's great work. Yeah. You're doing good.
Thank you, Luis. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.